Welcome back to the crypto channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now Bitcoin is still playing out the massive bearish divergence as expected, as we now have huge bearish price targets that we need to pay attention to in the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, while Ethereum is just now starting to officially confirm this new warning signal, while Chainlink has now officially confirmed the warning signal and is already playing it out. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, starting off on the weekly Bitcoin price chart, and the super trend indicator is still sitting in the green, indicating a larger bull market. So we've not yet confirmed a new bear market or anything like that. But if we're taking a look at this weekly Bitcoin price chart, we still have that massive bearish divergence still confirmed, still actively playing out in the price of Bitcoin, as I've been warning about for weeks now. In fact, pretty much every day this entire month, watch any one of my videos for the last 1 month, and you'll see me warning about this major bearish divergence, telling you for the last 1 month that this is likely going to start playing out basically near the end of August, especially leading into September. We're likely going to see a pullback this month and next month. I've been warning about that for basically the last 1 month, when everyone was telling me I was going to be wrong. And so what is happening right now in the price of Bitcoin, this current pullback, this weakness in the price of Bitcoin, a lack in bullish momentum, this is all to be expected. Once again, if you've been watching any of my videos over the last 1 month, this is all to be expected, still perfectly playing out. If we're taking a look at this 3-day Bitcoin price chart, we're still showing bearish momentum over bullish momentum. So in other words, we're looking more bearish than we are bullish. We're not showing any bullish momentum right now, and still showing a lot of weakness in the short term. Once again, the same thing what I've been saying every day for weeks now on the channel. But as always, understand the difference between the different time frames. So of course, on smaller time frames like this 4-hour chart, from time to time, yes, we can see a short-term bullish move here and there, especially bouncing from certain points of support. That's very normal to see. I'm not saying no bullish price action at all. Yes, we can see some bullish price action, just don't expect major high momentum movements towards the upside really at all over the next 1 to 2 months as a very likely outcome. And once again, I've already been warning about this for weeks now on the channel, and still perfectly playing out. And if we're taking a look at this daily Bitcoin price chart, of course, we still have this bearish divergence. So not only do we have this bearish divergence on the weekly time frame, we also had this bearish divergence on the daily time frame, already confirmed for quite some time now, already playing out in the price of Bitcoin, meaning don't be expecting any significant bullish momentum anytime soon. Once again, I've been saying that every day for weeks now. So yes, we could see little short-term bounces from important support levels, but overall, we're showing a lot of weakness right now, lacking bullish momentum. And the latest daily candle close, as of recording this video, confirmed at roughly around 110,000, which means if we quickly see a short-term bounce and turn this current daily candle into a green candle at this candle close in about 16 hours from now, in that situation, of course, that would mean we can still hold on to this area of support in between 110k to 112k, because we've not yet confirmed a daily candle close below 110k. But if we start actually confirming candle closes below 110,000 and fail to get back above that area, start basically struggling in this area, rejecting from this area, in that situation, that would be significant bearish price structure and likely cause a larger correction over the coming weeks. And so in other words, we need to actually hold 110k very soon, because if we start losing this level, then honestly, we could retrace back down towards some of these lower price levels that we saw back around middle of this year, around June this year. So I'm talking about maybe the lower 100k area, like 101k, 103k, somewhere around there could be likely if we fail to get back above 110 to 112k very soon. And if we're taking a look at the shorter term, looking at the 4-hour Bitcoin price chart, there's a possible new bullish divergence forming right now, but is not confirmed. I want to make this clear. This is not yet confirmed, not in play, but it is possibly forming. So what we need to see now is a bounce basically immediately. We need to see a bounce right now in order to potentially confirm this higher low in place in the 4-hour Bitcoin RSI. And so if that happens in literally the next few hours or so, in the next 24 hours, if we start to see a short-term bounce here, a quick little bounce in the short term, in that situation, that will confirm the bullish divergence, which means we may end up seeing just a short-term bullish relief like this, maybe for a couple of days, a few days. Once again, only looking at short-term moves, not the larger timeframes here. Once again, on the larger timeframes, still showing a lot of weakness, lacking bullish momentum. But as I just said, this possible new bullish divergence that is possibly forming, not currently confirmed, not in play, which means if we just continue a pullback here, we don't see any sort of bounce here, in that situation, that could pull the RSI further to the downside below this previous low in the RSI, which means there'll be no divergence at all if we have lower lows in the price and lower lows in the RSI. And if we were to see any sort of bounce here in the short term, honestly, I'd now expect a lot of resistance at roughly 112,000. That is a critical level on the price chart, which we now have broken below just in the short term. 112,000 now acting as resistance, and above that, more resistance at just under 115,000, around 114.8k, and above that, major resistance at around 117,000, which we perfectly rejected from just a few days ago, which I warned about before that perfect rejection. And if we're taking a look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, this is now revealing new possible price targets that we need to pay attention to, because we've just wiped out a bunch of liquidity that was sitting at roughly 110k to 111k, give or take. We had a lot of liquidity there based on the last 1 month worth of price action in the Bitcoin liquidation heat map. And so now that we've already utilized that liquidity that's already wiped out, obviously we do have this area at roughly 143,000, but keep in mind all of these other charts cannot be ignored. All of these other charts right here, these major bearish divergences across multiple timeframes, all telling us to not expect significant bullish momentum, which kind of rules out that higher price target, at least for now, talking about the next few weeks or possibly months. And so really the only other major levels of liquidity looking at this Bitcoin liquidation heat map is these levels down here, sitting at around 95,000 and 92,000. And so just be aware of that. Usually the price of Bitcoin, not always, but usually the price of Bitcoin tends to move towards where we have a lot of liquidity. But as always, consider other points of support and resistance where the price could possibly bounce from or reject from. And of course, consider the momentum in the market, the trend in the market, currently the short-term situation. In fact, the short to mid-term situation currently looking much more bearish than it is bullish when we're talking about at least the next few weeks, possibly a number of months. And so this is definitely the time in the market to get set up and get prepared, ready to go to take the next trading opportunity. And if you haven't done so already, you have to be set up ready to go on a crypto exchange. And personally, I'm taking a lot of my crypto trades over on BTNX, so I'll make sure to leave a link to BTNX below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link, it'll take you to this page right here where you can claim some massive bonuses and actually enter this 25,000 USDT prize pool simply just by trading crypto using the link below this video. But only the accounts that actually sign up using that link are eligible for this huge 25,000 USD prize pool simply just by trading crypto. So if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well check this out. Once again, first link below this video. And in case you're wondering, BTNX is a no KYC exchange, which means you can access it from basically any country in the world without needing any KYC. But as always, check your local regulations when it comes to trading crypto. And for whatever reason, if you don't want BTNX as an exchange, there's also Pinex as another exchange out there that I also trade on. So I'll also make sure to leave a link to Pinex below this video. And if you use that link, it'll take you to this page where you can also claim some huge bonuses. Like for example, if you simply just make an account using that link, it takes about 60 seconds to do this. Make an account, complete KYC, you get a free $50 bonus onto your Pinex account, free money from the exchange, which you can use to trade over on Pinex, but only if you use that link to make your account. And also major deposit bonuses here. For example, if you deposit just $100, you get a $100 bonus, free money from the exchange onto your Pinex account. Or if you deposit up to $10,000, you get a $1,000 bonus onto your Pinex account. But once again, all of these bonuses here are only available for the accounts that are actually using the links below this video to make their accounts. So you might as well check it out. Once again, if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, check it out. Links below this video. And in case you're wondering, yes, you can access Pinex without KYC. But with that being said, taking a look at the Bitcoin dominance on the 3-day time frame, and right now the Bitcoin dominance is technically still showing bearish price structure. We're still clearly within a pullback or shorter term bearish trend, if you like. And so this means a lot of the major altcoins, like for example Ethereum, can still hold up a lot better than what Bitcoin is doing. So for example, if Bitcoin is showing major weakness in the shorter term, basically dumping like this, and if the Bitcoin dominance is also dumping, altcoins may not necessarily be massively bullish against the US dollar, but altcoins, let's just say like Ethereum, might not necessarily have as bad of bearish price action as what Bitcoin is doing. So for example, if Bitcoin, let's just say, has a 5% move to the downside, let's just say if the Bitcoin dominance is also crashing at the same time, Ethereum might still go slightly to the downside, but maybe only 2 or 3%, while Bitcoin's going down 5% as an example. And so in other words, while the Bitcoin dominance is still bearish, that's still actually good news for the altcoin market. But overall, if Bitcoin's in a major correction, that's not necessarily great for altcoins versus the US dollar if Bitcoin against the US dollar is showing a lot of weakness. But with that being said, taking a look at Ethereum on the 3-day time frame, right now Ethereum is basically just bouncing around in a bit of a sideways price range in between very important support and very important resistance. And so first of all, we have this area of support based on previous significant resistance resistance, now acting as new support, sitting in between around 3.9k to 4.1k, and we have this area of resistance based on the previous cycle all-time high sitting at around 4.8k to 4.9k. And so obviously just over the last 1 to 2 days, we've seen another perfect rejection based on these candle closes, pretty much perfect rejection from this area of resistance again. So now 2 rejections from this area of resistance, proving it as a significant area of resistance. And so obviously if the price comes back up towards that area, expect a lot of struggle, another possible rejection from around that area, which is what I warned about last time before this latest rejection. And the exact same for if we run into this support, expect the price to be supported in that area and a possible bounce from that area. And if we're taking a look at the daily Ethereum price chart, we've now technically confirmed this new bearish divergence with a new higher high confirmed in place in the candle closes in the price action, and now a new lower high confirmed in place in the daily Ethereum RSI. And so what this means is that we should likely expect some weakness in the shorter term. So in other words, at best, some choppy sideways price action. That could be a likely outcome, but quite possibly a little bit more of a pullback is possible. We need to consider that, but overall, don't expect massive bullish momentum just in the immediate short term. Talking about the next few days, maybe over the next 1 week, but considering the size of this latest bearish divergence, obviously a lot smaller than this bearish divergence and this bearish divergence. These last couple of times here played out for roughly around a week, give or take. This one was close to a week. This was around a week and a half. So considering that and considering the much smaller size of this new bearish divergence, it's likely this will not necessarily play out over multiple weeks, maybe just a few days, maybe just under a week could be a likely scenario. But overall, just in the short term, once again, at least for the next few days, expect weakness and a lack of bullish momentum for Ethereum. And overall, honestly, I do expect just in the short term for the price to remain in this sideways price range for the time being. And if we're taking a look at the price of Solana on the 2-day time frame, right now Solana is attempting a break to the downside back below this golden pocket here based on previous significant resistance based on this Fibonacci level, and also was a bit of short-term support here sitting in between around 190 to 200. So if we start to confirm, for example, candle closes at least on the daily time frame, but especially here on the 2-day time frame, considering we're watching the 2-day time frame, if we see candle closes below around 190, and especially if we fail to get back above that area, that would be very bearish for the price of Solana, because that would completely invalidate that short-term breakout that we just saw over the last few days. And so this is definitely a crucial time for the price of Solana, because if we now confirm this break back to the downside below 190 with the candle closes once again, we now have a possible rising wedge pattern that we need to pay attention to, which is indeed a bearish price pattern, because statistically speaking, roughly 2 times out of 3, a rising wedge breaks to the downside, and about a third of the time it breaks out to the upside. So it can still break out to the upside. That's just simply the less likely scenario. And in terms of a possible trading strategy or trading opportunity here, if we first confirm the rising wedge with a break to the downside below this line of support here, sitting at around $175, give or take, if we break below that level with candle closes, at least on the daily time frame, below 175, and especially if we fail to get back above that level, in that situation, that would activate a bearish price target for this new price pattern here, sitting at the bottom of the wedge, which is at around $135. And so let's just say from the point of the breakdown, if we were to first confirm the break below this line of support once again, so for now that price target's not in play, I want to make that clear, but let's just say if we first confirm the break from the point of the break to that price target, that's about a 22% move towards the downside. Or even if you're waiting before, let's just say if you're waiting till around 170 to that price target, that's still roughly a 20% move towards the downside, and that is a move with no leverage. So for example, if you have a 10x leverage short position, or even just a 5x leverage short position, you're essentially more than doubling your money, doubling your initial margin, the amount that you're funding the trade with even just a 5x leverage short position in that example. Not financial advice, but once again, I want to make it clear, at least for now, that possible trading opportunity in this price pattern here is not in play. It is not yet confirmed. It's still just possibly forming the pattern, and would only actually confirm that bearish price target here if we confirm a break below this line of support. And in case you're wondering, this line of resistance is currently sitting at around $206 approximately. And if we're taking a look at the price of XRP on the weekly time frame, XRP is still playing out the massive bearish divergence, as I've been warning about for roughly around a month now on the channel. Pretty much every single day, every video that I've made this month, I've been warning about this larger bearish divergence for XRP. Basically ever since around $3.40, I've been warning about this bearish divergence, telling you that for the remainder of this month, the rest of this month, especially leading into September, we're likely going to see a lot of weakness, maybe even a larger pullback as a likely outcome. So get ready for that. And obviously since $3.40, this has been successfully playing out as predicted. And so keep in mind, of course, the last bearish divergence we saw for XRP on the weekly time frame, something like this that is now confirmed, was all the way back here in around end of 2020 entering to early 2021. And what came next was a massive pullback, which if we're measuring that move was more than a 60% pullback from high to low over multiple months. So just be aware of that. We've now confirmed the same signal that led into that previous significant pullback back then. And if we're taking a look at the daily XRP price chart, overall in the immediate short term, we're kind of just bouncing around in a bit of a sideways price range. Like I said in my last 1 to 2 videos also, just in the shorter term, I've been saying that we're kind of just lacking momentum to either direction, but the larger price structure is still looking somewhat similar to what we saw near the beginning of the year. So once again, if we're talking about multiple weeks from now, maybe over the next 1 month, we're still not looking too good for XRP, especially if Bitcoin continues to show a lot of weakness. That's likely going to flow over to XRP and a lot of other altcoins. Now, once again, as I said earlier, if the Bitcoin dominance is bearish, it may mean a lot of altcoins hold up a little bit better than what Bitcoin is doing if the Bitcoin dominance remains bearish. But with that being said, altcoins can still be a bit bearish while Bitcoin is dumping as a likely scenario. And so if we're looking at important levels of support and resistance to watch out for, first of all, we have some important support in between around 285 to 290. But if we break below that area, especially with candle closes, the next target would be at around 275. And below that, more support in between 255 to 262 as a crucial area on the price chart. And as for resistance, expect a lot of resistance at around 310, which over the last few days, we've seen multiple perfect rejections from that level. And above 310, we have significant resistance in between around 335 to 340. And if we're taking a look at the price of Chainlink on the daily time frame, Chainlink is now actually confirmed a break, confirmed a daily candle close back below $24, which is obviously, at least in the shorter term, is not a good sign for the price. And we're now targeting the next major area of support, which starts at roughly around $21, just above $21. So really in between around $20 to $21 is the next major area of support to watch out for, and ultimately the next short-term price target for Chainlink. And in terms of the larger trend, technically speaking, Chainlink, for as long as we hold above $20 to $21, for as long as we bounce at that level, we can still remain within a larger bullish trend if we bounce at that level. Now, if we start breaking below $20, that's a different story. That'll be a significant change in price structure to the bearish direction, possibly starting to form a much larger bearish trend. But overall, for all we know, this may end up just being another shorter term pullback within a much larger bullish trend. But overall, once again, just in the short term for the next few days or so, it's likely we now will likely retest around $20 to $21 as the next major support. And as for resistance, I'd now expect some resistance at around $24 to $25 based on this Fibonacci level here, and still expect significant resistance at close to $27, which I've been saying since before we saw that perfect rejection from my exact level of resistance. And if we're taking a look at the daily Chainlink price chart, looking at this price chart, we've now obviously further confirmed the bearish divergence. I already said in my last 1 to 2 videos, we've already confirmed this new bearish divergence here, which means we're likely going to see a bit more of a pullback as a very likely outcome for the price of Chainlink coming soon. And obviously over the last 1 to 2 days, this has already started to play out as predicted. And once again, as I just said earlier, I do now predict a little bit more of a pullback, likely going to retest close to $21, start to find support at roughly $21, maybe a little bit above $21. But either way, no matter if we see just a slight little bounce in the short term, now that this is properly starting to play out, we're likely going to see a lack in bullish momentum. So once again, we can see little short-term bounces, but ultimately expect weakness overall for at least the next 1 week or so, maybe longer, but at least the next week, expect a lot of weakness for the price of Chainlink and really a lot of the crypto market, especially if Bitcoin is performing the same, performing a lot of weakness. And so those are my expectations. Those are my predictions for the crypto market in the shorter term and leading into the mid to longer terms, talking about the next few weeks or possibly months. And of course, things are still playing out as I've been talking about for a long time now on the channel, especially on these larger timeframes here. And once again, if you want to trade any of these moves in the price of any crypto, get set up, ready to go using those links below this video to those exchanges if you want to claim those massive bonuses services that are only available using those links. And if you want to actually know how you can trade crypto no matter what the price is doing, even if the price is bearish, you can make a lot of profits in the market by watching these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions, and the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.